Hello everyone, my name is Dr. Denise Ejo, the CEO of Cornwood Cancer Foundation. I would like to welcome you to our Cornwood Cancer Foundation page. Our goal is to create an awareness of the challenges, support and guidance experienced in managing cancer care for sufferers, family, carers and friends. To engage with us, don't forget to subscribe to our channel, click our notification bell.
How are you?
Pretty good, thank you. I'm having so much of it. Trying to get all my things sorted out. Are there people already at this meeting?
Yes, there are. Everybody's muted.
Oh, goody. I'm sorry for joining late. I was having a problem with my laptop trying to log on from my laptop. So, and my presentation is on my laptop. So I was trying to send it to myself as an email.
And it's not going.
Yeah, so I'll be able to access it on my phone and then use my phone for the meeting, but it's just giving me such a
okay. Can I talk you through it? Your presentation is on your laptop.
Yes, I need to send it to myself as an email, which I'll try. I think it's a network thing.
No. Can you go to your WhatsApp?
It's not on my phone, it's on my laptop, yes.
Yeah, so that means it's in your document.
On my laptop, yes.
Yeah. But can't you see your work from your...
No, so it's not synchronized. I'm not that savvy. I'm so sorry. But I'm good though. If you need me to start, I'll just talk. I might not be able to share the presentation.
No, that's fine. Yeah. That is fine. My dad had better not call me this morning because I can't answer him.
How are you?
How am I? I'm all right. Just going one day at a time.
One day at a time. You are such a super.
Facing the demons each day they come.
And you slay them, they have no choice.
In Jesus' name, amen.
Amen. Amen to that.
Hello, everyone. You can unmute yourself. I'll mute everybody after that. Once we start, if you want to say anything, unmute yourself. Hello, Mrs. Reed. I know you were trying to say something. Don't get too carried away with the 5G today. Where's Caleb? Caleb, are we ready?
Yes, we are.
Have you checked our other broadcast?
Yes. We're live.
We're live. Okay. Alrighty. So we'll just wait for Dr. We have to give Dr. B a few minutes. So let's give him 5 minutes to calm down. Then we'll be good. Any questions for me, I can answer unofficially about cancer journey, and I will talk to you. Anybody who have any questions, let's talk about it. Let's talk about it. Everybody's quiet. Okay. Can you guys hear any noise in the background? You can. Thank you. I can hear all of you. Don't be upset, it's my granddaughter. If she had a choice, she'll be part of this. getting her own stand. All right. Who else is on? Who do I want to look for on this platform today? Whose trouble do I want to look for? Mr. Nosanya, how are you? I want to assume that Mr. Yaba, it's a Mr. Yaba, right? Because I saw Baba Madu. That's very sexist, isn't it? Don't blame me. Who again have I seen here?
Hi, good afternoon, Dennis. Hi.
Hello. I was waiting for you to be settled. Where is Prof? Have you driven him back to America?
Yeah, come back.
Oh gosh. How are you? Congratulations.
Fine. Thank you very much.
Congratulations.
Yeah.
Dr. B is playing with the techies. So when his techie skills, when he's ready, he's going to start.
Oh, I'm sorry, everybody. I will be ready in 2 minutes.
2 minutes. No wahala.
You're the best. Thank you for being so. I had to work today. I had so much going on. In fact, right now I'm waiting to see a patient. I just told them they're going to need to give me an hour for me to do this, and then I'll be able to. So just 2 more minutes, and then.
You're working today. Ooh.
Oh yes, I am. Yes, I am. Okay, I think I'll just go ahead and talk. I mean, let's do that. If I won't be able to share the slides, I can send them to you later. And then,
okay.
So just so that I won't be wasting everyone's time. I'm just glad you can even hear me because I'm having a lot of network issues from my end. But since you can see me and you can hear me, then we'll just go right ahead.
All right. Okay, then. So are you ready to go now? You are?
Yes, ma'am. Yes, ma'am.
All right, everyone. We're about to start. I'm going to start at exactly 12:10. So let us go on the 12:10 so that we're in line with timing. I'm trying to also make sure while we're about to start that all my press buttons are in line. All right, good afternoon, everyone. My name is Dr. Denise Ejo. I am the CEO of Comod Cancer Foundation. I am currently what you deem a cancer survivor. So even though I also am deemed living with cancer. Today we are hosting Dr. B, one of the doctors that I have met on this journey that is very caring towards cancer patients. Actually, he's so involved in our life. I don't know how he does it. I don't know how he even sleeps at night. But Dr. B, I want to say to you, thank you, because somehow you may not know, but other people talk about what doctors do, and we hear information about who the good doctors are and who people can refer to. So for me now, I will refer anybody in Port Harcourt to you. It's not, sorry, your portfolio might get bigger, but it's what happens. So Dr. B is an oncologist and is based in Port Harcourt. Just leave me like that. And he's going to be talking to us on liver and lung cancer. One of the reasons why we've picked those two is firstly, they're interrelated, but secondly, there are a lot of assumptions that are not actually a true reflection of what are the main things we need to know about it. Comod Cancer Foundation is fundamentally designed to create an awareness of cancer and its issues for everybody, focusing predominantly on Nigeria and ethnic minorities around the world. Dr. B, you're welcome to the platform today, and we are looking forward to listening to you. Over to
Do I
you
have-
now.
Oh, okay. Thank you. Hello, everybody, and good day to you wherever you are joining us from on the planet. I'm hoping I'll be loud and clear, and I'll probably also try to fly through because I mean, like, it's two big topics, but we're going to try and condense them down so that the important information will get to you, and you can share them with others. Thank you so much for having me. You are a super trooper. I don't know how it is that you're doing it, that you're still here today despite all that you've been through. And thank you for thanking me. I'm so grateful um, for you giving me this privilege. Like I always do when I have the opportunity to talk about cancer, of any sort, I always want to start with some basic information so we'll know exactly what it is that we're talking about. Especially if you haven't been to any of these talks before, or maybe sort of like a refresher course. So we're going to be talking first of all, what really is cancer? Because it's just always important to get that message there first and try to deal with a lot of misconception that goes on in the hearts of people. So when we're talking about cancer, we're talking about a disease where there's just this uncontrollable growth of cells, which are a natural part of the body. The body has over 1 trillion cells. And suddenly, out of the blue, there's this uncontrollable growth. There's this growth, which is why when I was a baby, I wasn't this big, but I kept growing and growing. And then at some point in time, growth stops. And you can only grow wider, but you can't grow taller. You can grow thicker too, front to back, depending on how much you're eating. But my hand would have stopped growing. So because there's an order, there's something in place that is checking all of these things. And so imagine if when I hit 21, my finger didn't stop growing. This finger just kept on growing and growing and growing and growing. And it's just going to be a grotesque thing that's going to cause a lot of problems for me. That's exactly, in a manner of speaking, what cancer is. Growth that doesn't stop and just keeps going on and on. Naturally, all cells are supposed to die in the body at a certain point in time. But what happens is that a cell just assumes immortality, refuses to die, and starts to grow. The problem is that at some certain point, uh, and, and that can be a big challenge when cancer moves from where it started from and moves to another area of the body. So by and large, this is what cancer is, a disease of continuous, unstoppable growth. And there's a difference between cancer cells and normal cells. Normal cells will follow the simple order of grow and then stop growing when there's no stimulus for growth. Normal cells will grow only when there's a stimulus for growth, and then they will stop when there's no stimulus. But cancer cells will grow whether there's a stimulus or not, and they won't even stop when the stimulus to stop to grow has been withdrawn, and so on and so forth. But the cardinal things I always tell my patients is that cancer is a stubborn illness, and it's also stubborn because um, there's always this tendency for it to grow back, even when you're trying to do something about it. And then that fact that it can move from where it started from and move into another organ really presents a lot of trouble. I wish I could have shared my slides. God, I'll have enough of an ability to transmit some of this message across because I'm sure it's not so deep. So let's go straight on and talk a little bit about lung cancer so we can understand. The lungs are like two spongy organs that are somewhere like here in my chest. If you can see my video, there are two spongy organs that are in your chest, and basically they function to help you get in oxygen and take out carbon dioxide. So you breathe in oxygen, you breathe out carbon dioxide. Unfortunately, these vital smoker is one of the leading areas for the globally. I mean, and the biggest issue with lung cancer, of course, is smoking. I remember watching some documentaries about when cigarettes were initially made and people were chain smokers because they were actually told by cigarette companies that this couldn't cause any form of illness, you know. But eventually, after many years of smoking and people coming down with all sorts of cancers, and I'm going to repeat that again, smoking causes all sorts of cancers, but it's the biggest one that is involved when you smoke and smoke heavily is lung cancer. And the more cigarettes you smoke, the more the risk of lung cancer. So people who smoke heavily are actually more at risk of developing lung cancer. And so there are, by further introduction, there are two types, which we call non-small cell lung cancer and then small cell lung cancer. It's not something that you need to keep in mind, except to know that small cell lung cancer tend to be a bit more aggressive than the non-small cell lung cancer. When I say aggressive, what I mean is that the disease tends to be a bit more advanced, a bit more active, a bit more troublesome than that for non-small cell lung cancer. Like I said earlier, smoking remains one of the biggest problems with the development of cancer. But let me tell you about some other risk factors. So when we talk about smoking, you're thinking about the person that is lighting up a cigarette or a cigar or the pipe, which isn't, I think, not so common anymore. But it's not just people who light up for themselves, but people who are constantly within the confines, within the same confines with people who smoke a lot. What we call secondhand smoking is actually a big. So the wife of a man who is a heavy smoker is actually just like his children. And in this discovery, the fact that we now know this that made it that several laws in society are now that if you're going to smoke, you can't just smoke everywhere. You have to smoke in specific designated areas where smoking is permitted so that you stop exposing other people to this to lung cancer. I'm in the clinic, so people keep walking in and out. You see my eyes getting a bit distracted. You're just going to forgive me because I was smacked in the middle of work and I had to take some time out to quickly share because this is very important. So secondhand smoking, but then there are some occupational risk factors like being exposed to asbestos, arsenic, chromium, beryllium, nickel. These are like they're not very common. They're not very common metals, but they are used in a lot of engineering. They are used in the oil industry. They are used chromium plating and things like that. I guess for metal work. And so people who work in some of these areas, one of the major problems we have is people who are refining crude oil illegally. So you wake up in the morning and there's a rain of soot on your car, you know, where in fact, there was a time the thing when present for the government was to let them know that we're sitting on a keg of gunpowder because with soot in the air and in other areas where you will find it, people are inhaling a lot of things that is going to escalate the incidence of lung cancer in the coming months. Other things like being exposed to radiation, which is like a double-edged sword because radiation is used to treat cancer. But we also know that for people who get radiation treatment, that particularly involves the chest and maybe the neck where the lungs are exposed, there is a small but real risk of them developing lung cancer further down the line. Radon gas, which occurs naturally in some places. The only place I know that I've heard of it is in the United States, where they have to do regular testing in particular areas because radon occurring as natural gas from radioactive decay of some of the radioactive elements that are found in nature, And of course, things like the atomic bomb, constant air pollution, and things like that are associated with that. Then the last thing I'm going to mention about risk factors for lung cancer would be like there's a family history. If you have a family history of lung cancer, there's a greater risk of this person developing cancer, particularly if they also smoke. So greater risk of developing lung cancer. Older people are also more active. That's why you see more people in their 60s than in their 30s or 40s coming down with lung cancer. And that's because, of course, like I said, the number of cigarettes you smoke and the duration for which you smoke, the more these are, the more the risk of developing lung cancer. So how will someone who has lung cancer present? And the first thing that we would probably want to mention here is to say that the number of times in the early stages of cancer, but in this instance, lung cancer, people really don't have any symptoms. That's one of the bad things about cancer is that it can remain quiescent for quite a while before it now then begins to show and causes problems. So you find out that a number of times for you to get it in the early stage, it's usually what we would call an incidental finding, where maybe someone has to a pre-employment chest X-ray in their shoulder, they have to go for see something in the lungs that is quite alarming. So, but then later on, as the disease advances, someone who has lung cancer will present with cough, and this cough is said to be sometimes described as active, like there's something growing in the lungs, just like when you have pneumonia and you have some phlegm in your chest. Your cough reflex is a God-given reflex that helps you try to get rid of something abnormal that is in your chest. So when you cough, you bring out phlegm, you spit out, sometimes you even feel some degree of relief. But when it's lung cancer that is causing this, you will be coughing very severely because the person is trying to bring out that thing that is odd inside the that irritates the lungs and all of that. And it's a part of in itself, and therefore there's no getting rid of it. So you have this persistent irritation, and then you are also coughing heavily, and so it's described as a hacking cough. They usually would present sometimes with blood in the sputum. There's a marked weight loss. Patients have significant amount of weight loss for no reason, sometimes even before the cough presents. I'm thinking of patients I have that actually treating someone now who has lung cancer, and when it was discovered, rightfully so, really, like it was because she's in a smoke, but there's a history of constantly cooking with fire because she was in PH and all of that. And it was just an incidental finding, from pain in the shoulders, which they thought was arthritis. They end up doing an X-ray that showed a suspicious mass in the lung. Then we ordered a CT, which I'm going to tell us, and then suddenly, but she did have weight loss. Said she had been losing weight steadily, and the weight loss can sometimes be profound. People also experience difficulty breathing when this cancer is growing, is blocking certain areas of the lung and making it difficult for air to go inside. Because almost every cancer is associated with some degree of anemia. Patients will be weak, they will be tired, they will have lots of appetite, such. And other things will include some trouble with swallowing, and some trouble with swallowing, yeah, that, and also swelling of the face and of the neck. So those are things that can actually be a problem for someone who actually has lung cancer. And going on for that, how will we now confirm that someone has lung cancer? And the only way we can do this is by running a few tests that will help us know that this person actually has lung cancer. So if you notice symptoms that are actually very in line with some of these things that I talk about, it's so important to actually investigate. Please don't assume a cough is just a cough. Just go in and investigate and check and be sure that it's nothing serious, particularly if you have those risk factors I've talked about, including smoking and smoking heavily, and the risk for lung cancer will actually be there even for several years after smoking has stopped. So what we find when we're trying to confirm if a patient has lung cancer, from when you're discussing, of course, the patient will either say, oh, I'm a heavy smoker, I've been smoking for a long time. They might also have a family history of lung cancer, that will point out this fact. And then your doctor is going to order some tests like your chest X-ray, like a CT scan. These are supposed to be able to see what's inside your body and be able to see if the features, because there are designated clear features that would make your doctor even more and more suspicious that could this be a lung cancer. Eventually, if things look like it is, they're going to need to take a part of that area where the cancer is going, part of the cancer, and send it for testing. It's that testing that will now confirm, based on what I said earlier, that you have non-small cell and have small cell lung cancer. So taking a biopsy is very important to try and determine what type of cancer the lung cancer is, if indeed it is lung cancer. And it will also contribute significantly to what kind of treatment the patient is going to have. There are other tests like checking your blood level, checking your liver function, because at the time that you are being diagnosed, they're already planning for treatment. They want to know if you have other illnesses that might get in the way of having an aggressive form of treatment. They also want to know to what extent the disease would have gone in the body. So you run a gamut of investigation. And characteristically, patients just keep wondering why are so many tests being done. They haven't even started any form of treatment. But these evaluations should be quickly done as best as possible. There are challenges in sectors like ours, in climate like ours, where things don't function as best as possible. So a series of tests. So what do we do when we say or we confirm that this person has a lung cancer? So how are we going to handle it? First of all, treatment is going to depend on many factors. So what type of lung cancer does this person have? How far gone is this lung cancer? Are we lucky enough to have caught it at an early stage in such a way that we can actually get rid of or at least attempt to get rid of all of the cancer? Or are we at that level where the disease has advanced locally into the lungs extensively? Do we even have spread different structures? Has cancer gone into the brain? Has it gone into the liver, bones, and other structures like that? All of these will have to be determined to decide what exactly treatment the patient is going to have. Other things like how well is this patient? Can they handle aggressive treatment? If someone is their age also, if a 90-year-old man has lung cancer, because his life expectancy, which refers to how long you're still expecting this person to live productively and well, as well as it's not so wide. So you might be thinking, oh, best not to rock this boat too much because treatments themselves have their own side effects and there are issues that you're going to have to do. But in younger people who are still strong, able to move around, then you can afford to be a little bit more aggressive. So treatment options that are available for lung cancer would include surgery. With surgery, you can have a situation where part of the lung or all of the lungs is actually removed, at least on the side that is affected, if the other one is spared. Surgery is something that you probably would reserve for patients who have early disease that is specifically localized, that you can still handle with some degree of confidence. In a metastatic disease, surgery might not be something that you are actually so interested in. Other forms of treatment patients could also have would include radiotherapy. So radiotherapy involves the use of X-rays, high-powered X-rays to treat cancers. In the case of lung, you might require some specialized radiation therapy treatment like stereostatic radiosurgery and all of those things, which at the time when the patient is being evaluated, will actually decide whether this is beneficial for the patient or not. Chemotherapy is of immense value in the management of patients who have cancer and even in lung cancer. The role of chemotherapy is using what we call cytotoxic. Cytotoxic means poisonous to the cells, and we use it to introduce it into patients and then use this to kill cancer. Other forms of treatment, photodynamic therapy, where you use light, specialized kind of light after introducing some medication that will be activated by the light you now introduce that will result in the cancer cells dying. You have laser therapy. More and more, we're moving more into the area of targeted therapy and immunotherapy because our knowledge is increasing when it comes to what is really driving cancer to keep growing. So we now know a lot of things. And as part of the workup, several tests would have been done to determine some molecular markers that would actually advise whether some of these higher level treatments like EGFR and other molecular markers, if they are positive in a patient, then some higher level medications can actually be imputed to help this patient get better. In fact, in the era of immunotherapy, people with advanced lung disease are actually living for longer, for more years, with very stable disease, even if they are not cured. I remember, I think it was not in 2018, I actually had the opportunity of sitting with a physician who told me about his patient who had lung cancer, and it had spread to the brain, it had spread to the bone, and somehow by reason of these newer immunotherapy medications, he was alive 5 years after, even though he had been given a shorter time to live. The important thing, the reason why we're having this conversation with the general public is to help you not look at it in a despondent way, like it's all over, to let you know that there's always something that can be done, in the right hands, in the right circumstance, and with God being on our side. The prognosis of lung cancer, which means how well a patient will do when you treat them, will be dependent on many things, including at what stage did this patient present. Of course, earlier stages have a better prognosis and even stand a chance of being cured than people who present late. And as I'm mentioning this now, I'm also going to quickly mention that, which is one of the reasons why taking up treatment as quickly as possible without allowing fear of so many things that we hear about, without allowing it get in the way, because it's only when you catch cancer early that you can actually stand a chance of a good cure. So with the state that the person presents, the type of lung cancer, small cell lung cancers and some other rare subtypes may not do so well as non-small cell lung cancer. I'm sorry if these terminologies are confusing. That's just how they are called, and so for anyone who has lung cancer, they will hear their physician tell them, oh, this is a non-small cell lung cancer, and or it's a small cell lung cancer. And so also, if if the tumor carries some mutation changes that would help us to use therapy, offer a good, and like I said, on how patients to live better. It would also depend on how well the patient is. And like I said, older people would come down with lung cancer, and therefore they could be frail, they could be weak, and therefore prognosis will be poorer. So one of the things we need to talk about will be how do we actually prevent lung cancer? Because with cancer prevention, it's something that we need to be talking about more and more. Unfortunately, however, I must add immediately that in most instances, really, you can only do the best that you can. Prevention doesn't always mean no cancer, period. And that's just the honest truth. But there are some modifiable lifestyle issues that would actually reduce the risk of lung cancer. So, for instance, smoking. If you shouldn't just smoke, period, because there's really nothing good that is coming out of it. Even the feel-good feelings that people hold on to, in my opinion, apologies, smokers in the house. You have to just don't smoke, period. There's no acceptable normal low levels of smoking that doesn't increase your risk of developing lung cancer. And if you are smoking already, then you need to stop. Because of course, once you stop, the risk starts to reduce with every year that you have stopped smoking. Then you definitely have to avoid secondhand smoke just because your friend is smoking. Or your spouse or someone, you need to be sure that you are not you have to have filtering devices that prevent you where your face feels, filtering devices that prevent you from inhaling. For me, living in Port Harcourt, where there's a lot of soot in the air, I think the only way to reduce risk will be to move out of town and move to somewhere where there's cleaner air. Wear your face outside, then all of this will help. You should also do other things that prevent cancer generally, like exercising, eating right, increasing fruits and vegetables. And people who live in areas where there's a risk of exposure to naturally occurring radon gas, then you're going to have to get your home tested for things like that. If there's an increased risk of developing cancer, lung cancer, maybe because of the family history of lung cancer, or maybe because of heavy use of tobacco products like cigarettes or cigars and things like that, there's a need to adopt a screening process that would help you to possibly detect lung cancer at its early stages. Remember, one of the things you said is that in the early stages, there might not be any symptoms at all, and this will be an incidental finding. So, screening for lung cancer is not usually done for the general population. It's reserved for people who are at a high risk of developing cancer. So, heavy smokers, people with family history. What's recommended is a low dose CT that the amount of radiation you are exposed to is far smaller than what would happen in normal cities, and thereby not further significantly increase the risk of getting cancer. You have to remember that because the risk factors are abundant in this person, the balance is usually on the side of breast cancer. The balance is usually on the side of them detecting something that would actually make the CT scan worth it. I'm sorry, I just got a little bit distracted because of someone trying to gesticulate. Forgive me again. So by and large, a low dose CT scan is something you can discuss with your physician to try and help you find out if your risk, that is, if your risk is high for developing lung cancer, so that you may detect it early and give it a better outcome for treatment. So that's about it on lung cancer.
Yes, can you stop a minute?
Yes.
Let us take a deep breath, please, Dr. B, please.
I'm sorry.
First and foremost, if there's anybody that has any questions, please put it on the chat and I will send it to him. Dr. B, basically what you're saying, some of the fundamental common threads are common in all cancers. Again, tiredness, irregularities, something that is persistent.
You don't feel well. Yeah.
Yeah. So I'm talking about, like, if you look at most cancers, they will say, if you have, like, you've just used, let's look at lung cancer, a cough. Now, a lot of people will say, I just have a cough. But I just have a cough might just be cancer. It's the same way I just have a headache. I just have a headache is brain cancer. A lot of people don't actually pick those little things. And so I want to try and pull out points while people are reflecting. And medical practitioners on the platform, please bear in mind, me, I'm not a doctor of medicine. I'm a doctor of book. It is just happens to be a 5-year journey of cancer active treatment. That's why I'm asking the questions, or I'm trying to summarize. Another thing that you said, which was interesting, was about how people find out about how people have to be aware about their environments. Now, this environment issue is very key, because although we may sit down and say, I don't have choices, we all have choices. And sometimes we have to make the right choices for ourselves. You say you're in Port Harcourt and you've got to find a way around because of the pollution, and pollution is almost always everywhere. I've only been to one country in the world where I knew that air was too clean. In fact, it caused me asthma because it was too clean. I had lived in a consistently highly populated country all my life. But all of us don't notice those type of things. Now, going forward, when we look at lung is a common thread to other cancers. I know you know what I'm talking about, because I've noticed that they say you have breast cancer. Next thing you hear that it came from lung, or a lung is a secondary, something like that. I don't know your terms. I'm not a medical person, but I've noticed that a lot of the time, even if when we have breast cancer patients that we talk with, they have got a link to breast. Is breast metastasizing the lung, brain metastasizing the lung. You just said brain metastasizing in the lung. I was a bit shocked with that. I've heard it, but it's never made sense to me. Different cancers metastasizing in the lung. And I noticed that a lot of people that actually do have lung cancer as primary and have early medicines, somehow you people have a tablet that they take for life, and it's managed, it's controlled. But this metastasis seems to be the explosion. Sorry, I'm just asking. So
you're actually right, and let me just jump in and say that. So just like and now I get that point that you were making at the beginning about how they're all kind of like interrelated, and that's because you see, all of the blood in the body goes through the lungs and goes through the liver, and therefore, if cancer is occurring elsewhere, when it's going to spread, one of the two commonest places where it would go to will be either the lungs or the liver, because they get trapped there. The cancer cells that dislodge from maybe the breast or the colon, they are able to actually they move along in blood vessels and then get trapped somewhere in the lungs or in the liver. And they actually are able, for some diabolic reasons, so to speak, to change the unexplainable reasons. They change the microenvironment and actually survive there. You would naturally expect that someone that is in an environment that is not normal to it should not be comfortable there really. But cancer cells sit pretty and start to just develop, grow just like they used to, even alter the microenvironment to the point that the person will start suffering things from their presence in the lungs or in the liver. And therefore, the lungs is like a major part where metastatic disease, secondaries from many other cancers can actually be found. And that's, of course, like an upstage disease. But in the context of a disease coming from somewhere else and lodging, hold on one second, and I'm hoping I'm still audible.
Yeah, audible.
So, thank you, ma'am. So, with cancers that come from other places, you're going to treat them while they're in the lungs like the primary, which is the original organ from which to the lungs will have to be treated with a treatment that is meant for breast cancer. If it's coming from colon, it will be treated with that. When you have metastasis like that, usually there's a florid spread, which is like it's not in just one clump, it's in different multiple places in that organ, and it makes surgery a very difficult option. But in the context of oligometastasis, oligo meaning that very few attempts would actually be made to go in and take out part of the lung that is involved and see if maybe this would result in the cancer not coming back at all. But you are 100% right. The lungs and the liver are like bus stops a lot of times where they just unpack their bag and be like, okay, this is our new home.
Okay, so let me leave you to go on to finish up with the differences in
Well, I'm moving on to liver cancer right now.
yeah, that's what I'm saying. Okay.
Okay, fantastic. Okay, hello again, everybody, and I hope it's not a sleepy, boring presentation. I'm hoping you're at least alert and enjoying yourself.
Yes, they
I'm
are.
going to
I'm
be
getting messages here. Sorry, they are. People are saying great and
Oh.
concise presentation. Nice and interesting.
Okay,
Now,
great. Thank you, everybody. Thank you so much. I'm glad it's having the desired effect that the plan to educate the general public and let them get on with the business of understanding what this disease is and also understanding what they need to do and do quickly to ensure that, so in case this happens to you or any of your loved ones, you can at least have a fighting chance to beat it. So the liver is like this really large organ that sits in the upper right, upper right side of your body. It's about the size of a football. That's how we describe. It's about the size of a football, but it's not exactly shaped like a football. So I guess we'll be talking about in terms of body. But it's just sitting there, sort of like triangular shape, but it does a lot of work. The primary work of the liver, which is like a very soft, delicate organ just hiding under the ribcage there, is to filter harmful substance from the body, which is now passed out in the stool or in the urine, or to make bile, which helps us to digest fat. And also, of course, it's a storage point for a lot of sugar that we have in our body. Whenever you have excess, it goes into the liver and then it is stored there. So, but we can understand how important this function, filtering out harmful substances and pushing it out in the stool is. I mean, it makes the liver a very, very vital structure in any human being. Liver cancer is cancer that begins in the cells of the liver. Period. That's just it. It's a cancer that begins in the cells of the liver. That's what primary liver cancer is. Like we just mentioned earlier on, We could also have cancer coming from other places and then depositing in the liver. Those are referred to as secondaries or metastatic disease, and they're usually treated like the organ, the primary organ in which this cancer started in. The most common type is called hepatocellular cancer, but you have a few other ones like hepatoblastoma, intrahepatic cholangiocarcinoma, which is arising from the channels in the liver that is carrying bile, and bile is very useful for us in digesting fat. So, if it begins in another area of the body and ends up in the liver, metastatic disease. If it starts primarily in the liver, it's primary liver disease, primary liver cancer. So quickly, just to not make it boring, what are the risk factors for developing liver cancer? So there's a disease condition called cirrhosis where the liver becomes shriveled and dry. Like, how a prune is a shriveled grape. So in the natural state, in the normal state, the liver will be like a grape. But then, when they bake, what's that thing that they put inside the shriveled grape? Is it's not a prune. It's the name escapes me now. You use it a lot in baking. It's sweet. It will come to me. So, but when it shrivels down, it becomes a tiny thing that is not pretty and all of that. So some diseases can make a fresh plumpy liver begin to shrink up and just dry out and wither out until it's not able to perform its functions again. And then we find out that condition, which is called the cirrhosis, usually serves as a precursor for developing primary liver cancer. And therefore, what are the things that can cause cirrhosis? Things like hepatitis B infection, hepatitis C infection, chronic infections with these two viruses are actually known to be major risk factors for developing liver cancer. So hepatitis B and hepatitis C virus will cause an infection that primarily residents in the liver, lead to inflammation of the liver. That inflammation can go on and lead to some degree of fibrosis when it is persistent, long-term infection. That's what we're talking about here. And usually people who have hepatitis here, but notably sudden yellow discoloration of their eyes. Unfortunately, in a few subsets of people, the yellow discoloration is referred to as jaundice. So any jaundice in an adult, and even in children, is suspicious and should be investigated extensively to make sure that this isn't a hepatitis with a viral, with a virus like hepatitis B virus or hepatitis C virus. Sometimes inherited diseases like hemochromatosis and Wilson's disease are just big names for all diseases that cause the body that lead to a storage problem with the liver, lead to cirrhosis, and can also go on to form cancer. People who are diabetic, interestingly, are also known to have an increased risk of developing related factors as a result from excessive sugar being stored in the liver as glycogen or as fat, and excessive fat. In fact, in people who are not even diabetic but have excessive fat stored in their liver, which is called a non-alcoholic fatty liver disease, they are very likely, or they are at risk, let me not say very likely, they are at risk of developing liver cancers. Excessive alcohol consumption. People who drink excessively, a lot. I mean, I'm talking about people who are dependent on alcohol and just imbibe a lot of alcohol. So it's described as consuming more than a moderate amount of alcohol daily. So heavy drinkers, can lead to irreversible liver damage, and it will increase the risk of developing liver cancer. So to quickly run through that, cirrhosis from any cause which damage liver, chronic infection with hepatitis B virus, some inherited diseases which run in family, diabetes, excessive alcohol consumption, non-alcoholic fatty livers, and then of course I left something out which is very important, which is exposure to aflatoxins. Now, aflatoxins are like specks of mold, which is like a fungal thing that grow on poorly stored grains. So when you have your maize or you have your rice or you have your groundnut and they're developing this furry coating in certain areas or formed into clumps in certain areas, they actually produce a spore, that is referred to as this aflatoxins. And so when you ingest things like that, for instance, moldy granite that you have been thinking we shouldn't throw away, or moldy rice that you try to rinse out, moldy grains, you eventually ingest them. You might take in some of the spores from these fungal things growing on the grain, and they actually are a very, very significant established risk factor for developing liver cancer. In fact, if these grains are stored somewhere and then used to produce food, cornflakes, peanut butter, things like that, they carry along their aflatoxin with them because they should have been discarded. And then the aflatoxin will now be present in food that has been processed. It's able to survive and stay there, and it can actually be ingested and increase the risk of people developing liver cancer. So what happens when someone has liver cancer? So in the context of primary liver cancer, which is the cancer is actually starting in the liver in itself, most people don't have symptoms in the early stages of liver disease. And so maybe they do some other tests, like kind of ultrasound scan. For some other problems, they can actually suddenly notice a suspicious thing growing in the liver that will necessitate them doing further investigations to find out what's going on here. But other problems that can arise from this, okay, some of them may be related to what the primary problem is in the first place. Some people would have, they've been sick for a long time because they have had excessive alcohol. There'll be a history of excessive alcohol intake. They may have a previous history of having an illness years back that resulted in their eyes being yellow, them being very sick, having to be admitted in the hospital. Like maybe if they had a florid hepatitis B or C infection that made them sick enough to have been in the hospital. But at the time that liver disease is developing, weight loss, loss of appetite, weakness, anemia, which means their blood level will be low. They have this abdominal pain. In fact, at this point, it will be important to mention that a number of times that I've seen people coming down with primary liver cancer, they've been treated for years for ulcer, for years, in some cases, a patient has already had a peptic ulcer that would give them occasional pain in what we describe as the gastrum, which is the place where the chest sort of like meets the abdomen, just under that sharp bone there. And that's somewhere where the peptic ulcer pain would sometimes present itself, will be made worse by hunger and all of the other features of the peptic ulcer pain, hunger, and all of the other features of the peptic ulcer. Okay, so because I can now hear myself. So I'll just go right ahead and continue. And what I was trying to say is that sometimes some patients have had a pre-existing peptic ulcer. And so it gets confused that what's going on here, oh, it's your ulcer, it's your ulcer, oh, it's your ulcer. And if there's no high index of suspicion, this patient will go for a long time missed because they had a previously existing ulcer that confused them or their physician. Sometimes also the patient has not had ulcer But of course, this pain starts and is mistaken for ulcer, and for months, people will be taking treatment for ulcer without realizing that the problem is actually a more sophisticated one of liver cancer. So abdominal pain, abdominal swelling, and if the cancer is big enough to actually block the release, or if it's situated in an area where it can actually block the release of bile into the stool, then some people will be passing very pale stools that they are white and chalky. They don't have the characteristic brown color that the stool normally has. So people, if you notice that the color of stool that is coming out of the body is lighter, it's getting to be white or chalky, then there's a concern and that liver has got to be checked out extensively. If a patient has history of drinking a lot, previous history of hepatitis, and all of that, your mind is going to be thinking about a primary liver cancer. But sometimes they will present with cancer in the liver, but it's coming from somewhere else. And therefore, this patient may have been treated for breast cancer in the previous year or in previous month, and they were hopeful that they had been treated well, and they had been cured, or they could have been treated for colon cancer previously, had gone through all of the gamut of treatment that was appropriate for what they had. But then later on, they present with jaundice and the pain and things like that, and then you examine and you are going to find out that, oh, there's something in the liver and this is suspicious. It could be a lung metastasis. And so that's how patients who are presenting with secondary present with symptoms of cancer elsewhere in the body, or they will be presenting with a history of having been treated for one previous cancer. Sometimes, however, ab initio from the time a woman is presenting or a man is presenting with a primary cancer, they already have established metastasis, and that's one way that people will present with liver metastasis. So what do we do when we're suspecting that there's cancer in the liver? We're going to need to examine this patient, take a good and detailed history, find out what their past history has been like, importantly, because a lot of hepatitis B and C are sexually transmitted disease, you're also going to need to take a sexual history and find out if there has been persistent exposures that way. They use IV drugs, are they dependent on IV drugs, recreational drugs that people enjoy, and but because they are not usually careful with needles, hepatitis C can easily spread from one drug user to the other. So you're checking for all of these things when you're talking with the patient. And I'm not saying that it's only people who have this that are drug abusers or things that come down with liver cirrhosis and lung cancer, liver cancer. I'm only saying these are things that your doctor would be interested in finding out. So ideally, you would order a lot of blood tests, a complete blood workup to see how the liver is functioning. They're going to do the blood workup to test for the viruses we talked about. Viral testing will become important. Does this person have hepatitis B surface antigen? Are you able to actually detect the virus in their blood? But one other important thing is tumor markers, which help you to measure. They are usually a measure of the burden of a disease in a patient. So in the term, with liver cancer, we'll be measuring something called alpha-fetoprotein, which helps us. We can actually now use these markers to determine that this person has liver cancer. And then when they start treatment, we can also use it to monitor how well they are responding. Of course, imaging is very important. So mostly, doctors will say before an abdominal ultrasound scan, a CT scan, an MRI, and if it is in the right time, a biopsy where they take a piece of the liver to go and test it to determine exactly what kind of of cancer it is would be done. Treatment, once liver cancer is really not one of the good ones to have because it hides for a long time, is rarely detected in early stages except by accident or someone who just likes to do routine testing, particularly in the parts of the world where we find ourselves, where people are able to go on and on managing a chronic symptom without even ever going to the doctor, like you were saying earlier on. I mean, something is there and persistent and troubling, but either because of fear or religious beliefs or lack of funds, people will just keep ignoring it because it's not terribly incapacitating or is transient, meaning it comes and it goes. The point is that you notice something in your body. You notice something in your body, you have to find out fully what the problem could be and then make sure that you fix it. So when you know that this patient has liver cancer, either because it's primary from the liver or it has come from somewhere else, you need to actually do some things to stage. What I'm talking about is what will we do in terms of treatment? So the treatment would depend on stage, the availability of options, how strong and how fit the patient is. Remember that some of these patients are old, they have comorbidities like diabetes that might get in the way of aggressive treatment. And because the liver is too far gone in others, aggression is not something you can even discuss. So liver transplant, where the entire liver is removed and a donor liver from someone else is put in the patient who has liver cancer, would be the best way to sort of like guarantee a complete cure from liver cancer. But of course, the problems are many. Finding donors can be a challenge. The cost of the procedure in itself, and also, I mean, how well that patient is. So really, it is an option that only a small percentage of people with very early stage liver cancer can get. So the other reason will be that because so many people present with late stage diseases that may not make them fit, or maybe because the liver disease has spread beyond the liver. So when you take out that liver and you put another one, the disease has gone beyond the liver anyway. It's already in other places in the body, and it's not going to portend a good prognosis. Most of these patients will still probably not do well. So for those who can benefit from the liver transplant, is actually the best way to totally cure lung cancer. But there are other forms of surgery, which would include removing part of the liver and things like that. Of course, these are just things we need to talk about in case there's someone here who has it, because otherwise treatment is actually decided by the primary physician, and there are many that are going to be considered in localized kill cancer cells with something called radiofrequency ablation. You can do cryotherapy where you actually pass liquid nitrogen to the area in the liver where the disease is. And then you hope that this very cold temperature of the liquid nitrogen will actually freeze the cancer cells and kill them. These are things that can be done in centers where this for them is available, and of course they'll probably be mostly beneficial in patients who have early diseases. There are so many other things like injecting alcohol, injecting chemotherapy, placing beads that have ability to remit radiation, which will probably be best discussed with individual physicians that I will not want to bore us with, and also being mindful of the time. Again, with lung cancer, with liver cancer, we can have targeted therapy that actually uses drugs or other substances that are able to identify specifics, on cancer cells that they manage inhibitors to the because of other drugs. Immunotherapy is also being considered. What happens with immunotherapy is try to boost the patient's immunity so that he can actually now try to overcome the disease. So for cancer that have come from other areas to the liver, you are going to treat them. So with breast cancer, you treat with the treatment protocol for breast cancer. And in most instances, the cancer has come from somewhere else in the liver. In most instances, the treatment is usually chemotherapy. Chemotherapy is the use of drugs to kill cancer cells. Now, so because a lot of patients presenting with liver disease present late, and because it's one of the bad ones, the poor prognosis, there's also that option of moving the patient into palliative care, where you start to discuss with, actually for chronically ill people, palliative care comes in from the very beginning of their care. But over here, we tend to sort of like reserve the notion of end-of-life care for palliative care. So I'm talking in terms of end-of-life care, but I must point out that the role of the palliative team is far more important than that. And so we can actually send people for palliative care so that they can do grief counseling for them, for their families, help them adjust to the notion that this disease is a rather bad one, because honestly, we can't run away from saying cancer is a bad disease that usually takes life. It will be foolhardy to act like a patient has liver cancer, and therefore, oh no, don't worry, everything's going to be fine. That will be so far from the truth. So we're going to need to introduce measures in people who we don't think that we can actually do. They get comfortable with the idea that this is a terminal illness, and therefore that will be a big role that palliative team plays. Remember again, I'm saying that the role of palliative care is not just in end-of-life care. So liver cancer is one of the difficult ones. So how do we reduce the risk of developing liver cancer? Reducing alcohol, drink in moderation. Everybody always asks, what is a moderate drink? I've seen it written somewhere where they say maybe a glass a day for a woman and 2 glasses a day for a man. And then the next question that always jumps into my head is, how big should this glass be? Because I mean, there are glasses of various kinds, but I think we all know what being moderate means. You have to be able to do things in moderation and not imbibe. And if you are alcohol dependent, you need to seek help to be able to get over that, because you know that if you are unfortunate, you may be heading towards a liver cirrhosis and you could actually develop liver cancer. So reducing alcohol, maintaining a healthy weight. Remember, one of the risk factors is a fatty liver, where a lot of fat is stored in the liver, and this can actually result in liver cancer. So quickly, vaccination is one of the last things I'm going to mention, because hepatitis B vaccine is available to prevent infection with hepatitis B, and it's usually even incorporated into immunization schedules across the globe. It might be important to check to see if you have been vaccinated and to go ahead and get vaccinated. Unfortunately, hepatitis C doesn't have a vaccine as of yet, but you can reduce the risk of contracting hepatitis B, C, and or B by knowing your partner's sexual history, use of barrier contraceptives during sex, making sure that your barbers, your tattoo artists sterilize their equipment before they use on you, and of course, don't use IV drugs. Or if you cannot quit yet, be sure that the needles are clean before you use them. But hopefully, you should be able to stop. The last thing is to treat hepatitis B and C, because these are treatable diseases. And if you treat them, you reduce the risk of going on to develop liver cancer. So the problem is people have jaundice for a few days, it clears, they use a lot of herbs, they don't go to the hospital. Eventually the jaundice will clear, but there's still an active disease that is just, it's there. It may be quiescent, but it's doing what it's doing to the liver. And it underscores the importance again of needing to seek out professional help early when you have, because it could mean something more sinister than just a simple headache, a simple pain in the tummy. Don't excuse me by saying, oh, maybe because I eat this thing here, or maybe it's because of the heavy load I carry. Observe it, it's persistent, it's increasing in intensity, is associated with unexplained weight loss. You know, don't just say with stress. Take a step, go out, get yourself checked, because I mean, the earlier, the better. I think I'll just stop here because time is far gone, and I apologize for stretching and stretching and stretching. Thank you.
Thank you, Dr. B. Thank you, thank you, thank you. You know, sometimes when you guys go on your discussions, I think a lot of us have a bit of thinking that goes along with it. For those of us that go through, on the cancer journey, we are very aware that there's no fixed rule that says you cannot get it again, and there's no fixed rule that says it cannot metastasize, and there's no fixed rule that says this is where it's going to go. So, you know, running this platform is fundamentally to make people aware of what you guys do. Honestly, from the bottom of my heart, I want to say a very, very big thank you. You know, today you've changed another perception for me. I mean, while you were talking, I just realized that, gosh, cancer and our mental health is the next discussion. You know, it's when you are listening and then you realize that, gosh, there's a lot going on, and somehow we all think we know it, and we really don't know it. If there's anybody that has a question, you can either put up your hand or write it in the chat box. I will allow you to speak for a few minutes before we close down the platform for today. But I want to say a very big thank you, because you've made a different. There are a few people that I'm talking to that are going through the journey and they don't know how to address it. And I'm actually listening to you and thinking, and two of them have liver. No, one has liver, one has lungs. And I don't have it, so I can't tell them. I have one person that tells everybody that's not facing cancer, don't tell me you understand because you're not sitting in my chair. So when I say that, I genuinely mean it for that singular reason. Is there anybody that has any question? I've got a few feedbacks that say, nice presentation, thank you very much. Dr. Wenga, what did you say here? You said, I'm concerns. I like this one. Can smoking be banned in the restaurants in Nigeria? Ha 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 ha. Okay. I'm not very sure about that. Sorry, I can't. Who is talking? Sorry, who is talking?
Oh, sorry.
Were you the one talking, Dr. B? There's your phone is on. Your phone is on. Your phone is clashing with your.
Smoking difficult.
We can't hear you.
Oh, I'm so sorry.
Go on now. Yeah. Yeah.
Okay, great. So I was saying that regarding the banning of smoking in public places, well, those rules are already in effect, but in climes like in Nigeria, where I live and practice, it's a bit difficult to police it because, I mean, things are not working as they should, but ideally, even at clubs and bars, there should be dedicated smoking areas where people who don't want to smoke should be able to sit without having an interference from smoking. But if you go out to a pub or you go out to a club and you're thinking, I'm never doing, it's just not doing the work, because at some point in time, everybody throws caution to the wind, and then there's cross-carpeting amongst all these places. So the best you can do is protect yourself as much as possible, or sign up for no smoking clubs. I'm not sure that there's much we can do about that in particular, sadly.
Neither am I. I'm not sure that is in some countries it is, because I know that a lot of countries they have smoking spaces. America, England, there are quite a lot of countries that have it, but then there are still some environments that don't have it. Somebody put up their hand and is going down. Okay, Dr. Desiree, how are you, Doc? Do I have to put you down?
Fine, thank you.
I've just got two people out. Doc, they said, thank you very much. We learned a lot. How often should one have a liver function test? And then Dr. Desiree is going to take it from there.
So am I going to answer that question?
Yes, you are.
Okay,
Yes, you are. You are. Then Dr. Desiree will talk. Yeah.
All right. So how often should you do a liver function test? It would depend on how often do you get your physical. Do you go for your physical annually or every 6 months? Then during that, your annual medical checkup or your 6-monthly medical checkup, it will form part of the routine. I'm not aware of any protocol that says, oh, do your liver function test, such and such and such. Screening is also not something that is actually heavily recommended in terms of liver cancer. But for people who have had chronic hepatitis B infection or who have been managed for liver cirrhosis, they can sometimes do ultrasound scans and CT scans or tumor markers to just check to see what's going on in that liver. But to answer your question specifically, as often as you do your medical checkups, your normal physicals, you probably will have a lot of liver function tests done. But there is no clear cut, do it every 3 months. Of course, if you have had chronic hepatitis B infection or hepatitis C, or there's already been a diagnosis of liver cirrhosis without liver cancer, you're going to be on a steady follow-up with your doctors, and from time to time, they're going to call up this test for you to do.
Thank you. Dr. Jumai?
Okay, yeah, thank you. Good afternoon, everyone. Thank you, Dr. B, for your interesting, simplified lecture as usual. Dr. B is my big brother in oncology. So thank you so much.
You see that, Docky?
My big brother. Thank you so much. So really, just to because along the discussion, you spoke about ulcer. So really, we do advocate for that because we're having a lot of issues. People coming in with gastric CA and even liver CA, having a long-standing history of ulcer. So really, we do advise that, don't take it for granted. Try as much as possible to make sure it's properly attended to. Even amongst ourselves professionals, we do have that discussion that, we're having these cases of people coming with ulcers, poorly treated, and then eventually we now discover that we're actually a sign of something more sinister. So we're advocating for, proper and thorough diagnosis of symptoms of ulcer, just to add my little bit. Thank you, Ogasa. Thank you.
Good to hear from you, and thank you for the contribution.
Yeah, I've heard about this ulcer thing. Anyways, very interesting. Okay, so I just want to say I don't see any more hands up. I see a lot of thank you, Dr. B. I see, okay, for long tests. Hold on. You're educating us on liver and lung. Good explanation. Causes identified. This session was very educative. Thank you. So you are getting all your thank yous, Doc. You might have thought that you were not communicating, but when people are very quiet, I've come to realize that a lot of people are listening. Okay, so I want to say a very big thank you to everyone today. Dr. B, especially, thank you for taking your time out. I know you're supposed to be in clinic and you're running back to the clinic. Can I ask a big favor from you, though? Can we get your presentation so we can take the facts out, since we couldn't get it from you, and make posts and signpost people to all our platforms, so we can get that done? Just a very quick one. For those who are normally on the group, we're going to now create a WhatsApp group that just sends you the link directly, so you don't have to register anymore. We want to stop that. And we're going to have a podcast weekly. And I'm going to be talking to a few of the supporters club. Me, I'm not a doctor, so I'm very, very appreciative of medical doctors that come on the platform to come and talk. And it's because I am a cancer Dr. Jima, you say cancer survivor. Me, I don't understand that statement that you keep saying.
You are, you are, you
I
are.
hear you. I'm just saying it because like now, we just done 5 years now. Now I'm starting another new set of, so 5 years of active treatment, and I'm starting a new journey again because they've now said they have to change the drug because the drug is now not working very well. That one you keep going. Anyway, God is still on the throne. So I'm very grateful for that. I'm not going to say.
Yes, yes, let's be hopeful.
Every day that you live with it, you are surviving it. And that's just the basis of calling you a survivor. Because you are surviving. What they want is for you to not, but you are defying the odds. That's surviving cancer.
Oh, okay. For me, it's like the pain is much. It doesn't get any better. I still did chemo 2 days ago. Okay, so from that perspective, that's what we're doing. And we're going to now, I'm getting a few of you to come on TV to come and start talking to the Nigerian public about cancer. So when I'm reaching out to you, please, it will be pre-recorded. Just be ready for me. Just ready for my call. Yes, thank you. I need some of you here. And for survivors, there are some survivors I'm going to call you on to come and talk, please, because this thing is real. I want to thank everyone for coming on. You can follow us on Cornwood Cancer Foundation. We have an Instagram page, Facebook page, and our website. A lot of information is there. We put a lot of stuff up every time. We advertise, and next month, I've just said, Dr. B just gave me the theme for next month, which is cancer and our mental health. Because bearing in mind all these cancers, and this year we've actually gone through about 8, I think, Dr. Juma, about 8, right? We've talked about 8,
yes,
eight cancers. So I think let's now talk about how people's mental health is going and see what we can do about it. And so from that perspective, I want to say very, very big thank you to all of you that work with us, all of you that share our videos, that share our flyers and encourage you to come. That's all we can do. We're only creating an awareness. We're trying to get people to be part of and share this journey with others who are going through it. It's a very hard journey and we all need supporters. So I want to thank you all for joining Cornwood Cancer Foundation this afternoon and taking your time out to be with us. It was great, Dr. B, to have you on today after a lot of homework, but yes, you did. So we really, really appreciate you, but I'm going to hail you later because I need something else. Yeah. Outside of that, I'll say thank you to everyone. You can all unmute yourselves now and let's say hello. Follow us, please. Thumbs up and share our videos. Our YouTube channel, we're now uploading all the videos since 2021 with all our different speakers talking about cancer. Have a nice and great weekend. You can unmute yourself now.
Thank you for having me.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Bye.
Thank you very much. Thank you, Dr. B.
Thank you,
Thank
Dr.
you.
Thank you so much. Take care of yourselves. Good night,
Bye.
and good night.
Thank
Bye.
you.
Okay, Chief.
Dr. Dennis, bye.
Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you.
Bye. Thank you.
Thank you all. Thank you. Thank you. See you soon on our next platform. Dr. Lillian, are you on? Can I hear you?
Yes, I'm on.
Wow. How come you're awake at this hour? Yourself and Dr. What's his name?
I know. I joined.
Dr. Benga.
I joined because I joined because I woke up late, but I was like, let me join. And I job. I mean, one of the things that struck was how to help education and my target. Really, and I'm sorry, I'm excited. My target, the public, educate them, but there've been different, conversations about